Hello, my name is Fabrizio Aiello. Thanks for tuning in to another inking of Horace H.H.Hoover that I started last week. But today I have a guest, Nate Taylor. So bringing him in now. Hello, Nate. Thanks for joining.
Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Welcome to my drawing studio. Hey, thanks for having me on.
Sure. So the funny thing about what I'm doing today is that last week I had started this inking, so it's based on this drawing here, which I have like in the overlay. So I did the drawing, then I started to ink it, and then I realized I'm like, oh, this actually isn't the right drawing. I hadn't fixed it because his helmet was kind of wonky and it just looked bad. And as I was inking it, I'm like, maybe I'm too close to it or something. So I had to re-scan it in and re-blue line it and kind of catch up a little bit to where I was at last time. So I'm hoping this is like maybe 1-2 streams tops to finish this up. I'm hoping to finish it today, but we'll see. What are you working on?
Fast. I'm working on a little island. This is for the Choose Your Own Adventure book that I'm working on. I want to kind of use this as just an asset to pull from, but also I want to do that cool thing on Instagram where they split a big image up into tiles and have a long scrolling one. I think I made it a little tall, so I don't think that hurts, though. People scroll for a while. The interesting thing about that is, like, I want to try to maybe pack as many details as I can into those tiles, because I kind of hate with those big... Do you know the ones I'm talking about, where it's like... It's one big image made up out of individual posts?
Oh, okay, yeah. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Those always bum me out a little bit, because you go into the posts and there's nothing really to look at. It's just a...
Yeah, you have to... Yep, you have to go back out and then...
Right. So,
yeah.
I'm going to try to change that, make this one at least a little interesting to look at in different places, so it's worth zooming into. But yeah.
And you're using like a micron? I can't. Oh yeah, you are.
It's just a micron, an O1. Yeah.
Yeah, I have several of these drawings that I've blown up, and I'm actually kind of excited to do it. It's almost like I'm inking somebody else's drawing in a weird way, because this is just not... It doesn't feel like my lines, because my lines don't, this was drawn at such a small scale. So when I blow it up, I'm like, it feels like I'm inking somebody else, which is really trippy.
That would be weird. Yeah, that is... So that's in blue. You print that out in blue line, right?
Yeah. I almost exclusively do blue line just because, again, I think I mentioned it last time, but the paper that I love to ink on is it's Eon board, and it's just amazing to ink on. And the stuff I draw on is really good for drawing, but it's really not good for inking. So that might change one of these days, but I don't know. I just love this paper. It's so slick.
Sounds cool. Just made a slidey sound when you slid it. It's kind of cool, like Eon board. Sorry, what were you saying?
It is. It sounds like dystopian future, kind of.
Right. This episode brought to you by Eon board.
Like a commercial you would see in like Total Recall or something. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, this is, I can honestly...
You're kind of breaking up.
Oh, yeah.
Your audio's
might be
breaking up.
noise. Yeah, still happening. There's also a helicopter going overhead. The helicopter flying.
You're good now.
To Children's Hospital.
Yeah, I think you're good.
All right, great. I forgot. Oh, yeah, I think this is the first time I've ever recorded or done any sort of video while I'm inking. Very, very interesting. That's what's tripping me out. You said about, like, it's not your lines. It's like, it's weird.
Yeah, I think I'm okay if somebody is watching inking, but man, for penciling, I need to be focused 100% on what I'm penciling.
Yeah, I can't imagine. Yeah, that's almost
So
like
yeah, like especially if I'm doing like panel composition, like figuring out how many panels a page, what's in each panel. I have almost complete silence when I do stuff like that.
yeah.
And then once I get that nailed down, I'll put it in a podcast or something.
Yeah, you have to cut the noise on things like that. Even having music on, it's tough. I have to catch myself sometimes and be like, wait, I should turn off the music. I need to shut out some of the distractions here because I'm not thinking straight.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not focused. So you definitely get that.
Speaking of music,
I think I've told the story. Yeah.
We'll see how this works. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. As you put on the music, I know I've told this story before, but there's an old story. There's this animator, Richard, I forget his name. He's a big animation guy. He started in Disney Studios. He worked with one of the 9 old men who were like the big legendary Disney animators. And one day he heard somebody talking on the radio about classical music. Listening to classical music when you do art can inspire you. It can help you focus. And he went to Milt Kahl, who was one of the 9 old men, and he said, Milt, did you ever hear about this? You can play classical music. And Milt freaked out on him and said, I'm not smart enough to do more than one thing at once. And the moral of the story just being like, I guess for some people definitely can focus a little differently than others, but for him it was like when you're in that deep concentrated mode where you really have to be focused, you have to turn those things off.
Yeah, I think it depends what I'm doing. Like if I'm writing, 100%, I want music. I want like creative things around me that might trigger something. So like a lyric might trigger like something visual, and then that triggers something else. But yeah, like penciling a page to me is just like it's a puzzle. You got to figure it out. So you need to concentrate on, unlocking it.
Totally, that makes total sense. So
again, I could be one of those people that's not smart enough to do more than one at the same time. That could be me.
I don't know. I think it's all in what you're not animating. I don't know. Animation too, I think, is a little different. Because you have to keep that sequence. I haven't done much at all, but you have to keep that sequence in mind.
Right.
It's a lot to keep in your head, I think.
The other thing too about these pencils is like normally, whenever I show blacks, like spotting my blacks, I don't spend a bunch of time to make sure there's no white left. But when I'm blowing this up, these look like they're much more separated, so they look like gray values, instead of me actually. I don't know, that was supposed to be black. It looks like a texture or something like that.
Oh yeah, until you get them into Photoshop or whatever you're using. Yeah, I don't know. I think we're talking about the same thing. Correct me if I'm wrong though. I always feel a little bad when I pull things in and I sort of drop those gray values that show up in inks. I guess just something about, I feel like I'm compressing the image, or like I'm not being true to the materials or something like that. If that makes any sense.
Yeah, that is a little different what I'm talking about, but I totally get what you're saying. Sometimes I don't want to get rid of those really light differentiations between like the solid blacks. Sometimes I think it makes the image better, and sometimes I do think you lose a little bit.
Yeah.
And sometimes for me though, it's like the ink. Sometimes the ink is not quite at the exact consistency I want it, so I'm not getting the solid blacks I want anyway.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it's tough to find. You use what is it Faux Martins? What is the
Yeah, Dr.
Dr. Martins?
P.H. Martins or whatever. I actually use a bunch. I use a bunch of ink.
I've heard of other people using Dr. Martins and they're liking it. Yeah, I've definitely encountered that though, where the ink just doesn't have. You have to go over it in several washes before you even get a really solid black, which is something doesn't matter as much for like stuff that's going to get scanned. But if I'm doing something that's going to hang up somewhere, you have to like make sure go over it in several coats or whatever.
Yeah, I also mix inks sometimes too,
Okay.
just to get the consistency. But I don't have like a formula or anything. I'm like, this is too thin. This...
I have had terrible results mixing. I guess, well, I've mixed like colored inks and gouache. That's just dumb. Probably. Mixing inks is probably not as bad, but I guess I'm just leery of it.
Yeah, there are a couple of inks that that I've always considered to be really thick, dense inks. What's that?
Yeah. Well, I just realized my whole big old face was in frame as I was leaning close into the page. You get practically small.
Like Koh-i-Noor, their inks, like those for the rapidograph pens. This is like a really dense ink, so I would mix that with like the Speedball stuff, which is a little thinner to me. So
yeah, Speedball is definitely that's what I have an enormous. I actually have it right here. I think I bought this for printmaking or something, but it's lasted me forever. I have this giant
Yep, same thing.
Thing of Speedball that I just use. I actually like it better when I don't clean my palette and it sits out for a couple of days. It sort of gels up a little bit and you get a really nice dark tone out of it. Gums up the brushes, but it's a little closer to solid black. I remember in graphic design they teach you about super black, which is like just normal printer black is not actually black. It's kind of like a gray. Because it's just using the black cartridge. But if you want to get like the super black color, you add 75% of all the other colors. Yeah. So if you're ever laying out a brochure or whatever, I don't know.
So I think I saw that you opened up. There was a newsletter for Horace.
Oh yeah.
For the store, and it was fun. It's interesting because doing emails for work. I used to blast them out, and it was super stressful. I'm like, well,
yeah.
This won't be as stressful because it's just for me. I'm like, well, it's still kind of stressful, even though it was only like a limited number of people or this or that. It was still just kind of like, there's a spelling error that I'm missing. I just know it.
Yeah, that's okay. Well, I'm happy to proof stuff if you want. I didn't notice anything.
Yeah.
I thought it was really funny. Had me chuckling. I thought his Max being the straight man to his his bombastic sort of attitude was really funny. I enjoyed that a lot. Yeah, I think the character that comes across in an email template or an email blast, if you can get that to happen, you must be doing something right.
Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, there aren't very many email blasts that I would voluntarily read, but that is one of them.
I know that is the thing, and I'm totally aware of that because I'm the same way. I do not want to send an email unless it's really something to tell people.
Right. Yeah, even projects that I'm fascinated with, I think. I've definitely canceled some in recent years just because I kind of want to hear about it. But if you
And
can
some-
entertain people, I think it's definitely worth doing.
Yeah, I'll give it a whirl for a little bit here and there, but maybe once or twice a year. I can't imagine it happening a lot, unless it's like I said, something that I know some people aren't on social media. So, like, I don't know how else you get info to them, you know?
Yeah, messenger pigeons are extinct, so you don't have a lot of
Yeah.
options. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder about those people.
That aren't on social media?
Yeah, that aren't on. It does become difficult. Somebody recently on a Discord channel I was on was asking, "Can somebody get a hold of this other person? I want a copy of their comic that they published." And it was like, "Well, you're not on. We gotta because you're not on social media. We gotta go between."
Yeah.
I don't know. I get it. There have been too many mornings where I've just basically lost hours to Instagram, but I don't know.
Yeah, and some people have their preferred social media. I think that's the other thing too. It's like, okay, they're just going to be on this one thing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
You know what it was?
Facebook? Do you
Go
do
ahead.
much on Facebook? You do much on Facebook?
No, I'm not on
just-
Facebook.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that is the one platform I just bailed on completely.
Yeah, it's not great.
So this was kind of interesting. Do you know Batman? No, totally blanked on it.
Not person.
By Gaslight.
Gaslight. No, I don't. Batman
So
by
it's-
Gaslight, is that the title of the
Yeah, it's pretty old. It was Mignola, like some of his early work. So things still look, representative kind of thing. He had
Okay. Yeah.
It's not super stylized. It's like his older stuff, I should say, but it's not hyper stylized. So anyway, I remember it's really one of my favorite books, like comic books to look at. It's really well drawn. I like the colors, and I just kind of page through it. It's one of those comic books that have a lot of panels per page.
Okay. Yeah.
And I would look at it before I started the comic book, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to really try to absorb this kind of, okay, how's he doing this and how's he doing that? And I tried. It turns out I didn't absorb anything, right?
Absorb stylistically, or absorb
just
his techniques for handling that many panels per page?
Yeah, just how he handles pages, when does he do backgrounds, when does he not do backgrounds, stuff that up until that point I never had to think about. And it wasn't until I had those challenges where I'm actually laying out pages that it really kind of brought it home to me. So I pulled it out the other day because somebody was mentioning it. I'm like, oh man, I haven't looked at that in a long time. And it's kind of fascinating now that I actually have experience working with those particular struggles. It just really came into focus. I'm like, oh, I can actually look at this in a different way. It was like
That's cool.
going for a semester abroad,
Yeah.
from a different language, and then coming back and realizing that a lot of it's stuck. And okay, I've actually had this particular problem before, and this is how he solved it, as opposed to just being theoretical before.
Right. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was.
That's neat.
Go ahead.
Oh no, that's a great experience. I definitely had that where I go in to something with the intention of analysis, and it's so good that I get drawn into it and I forget completely about the analysis part I was trying to do.
Right.
But that's awesome. Yeah. So what did you sort of pull? What sort of tricks was he pulling in for Batman by Gaslight?
I mean, I think that a lot of the big ones for me was the number of panels per page was very high. And how did he handle that? Because for me, I've been doing that a little bit more, trying to do more panels per page, trying to get more story into a page. He did it, and he really just, I mean, people talk poorly about this, but it was a lot of talking heads. But it wasn't, it was still interesting to look at. So that was the thing.
Cool. Huh.
It was talking heads, but it wasn't boring. So I really, so I think I'm going to look at a lot of older comic books that I haven't thought of in a long time and kind of look at them again now with these new sort of, glasses.
That's really cool. Yeah, I'd be curious to hear what you.
I'd be curious to hear who you feel does it best. My knowledge of comics is pretty limited, but that'll be cool.
Was it Wally Wood that did that? There's different variations for layouts of what to do when a writer gives you too much text. Have you seen that?
I know he's like 21 panels or something, but I don't know
that's
about
it.
that.
Yep, it's like through the window, over the shoulder, things to make it interesting. That's sort of
that's a really cool sort of breakdown on just panels that, because you tend to, like language, you just tend to use the same panels over and over and use the same views over and over. So it's nice to have somebody kind of break it down. So, maybe I'll try this one.
Yeah, I always, with the graphic novel that I'm for.
I think
we
lost
tried.
it. Oh.
No, am I back? Check.
You're back.
Am I back? Oh, with the graphic
back.
novel I'm working on and hoping to get it back into later this summer. Whenever there was a lot of dialogue, I would always try to, I guess, occupy the characters in some sort of business. Like, are they prepping a meal? Are they... Because I just can't draw. Nothing is worse to me than drawing the same characters over and over again, even with emotion, even if they have expressions. I just think that's so boring. It might as well be real life at that point. Like, why are we even doing a comic?
Yeah. Yep, I totally agree.
But I think that's a good. I think it sort of becomes a cool opportunity, though. So when Mignola did it, was it mostly
sort of playing with camera angles?
There's not a lot of variation in the camera angles, to be honest. It's and there's actually not a lot of perspective. Not that, he has an exterior shot of this, Victorian. I think it might even be Wayne Manor or something. It's really beautiful, exterior shot of a Victorian house. And, a panel that size, you spend maybe a second on it, maybe two tops.
Right.
And I'm looking at it, I'm like, there's actually no perspective. It's dead on, which is impossible, right?
Right, yeah.
It's impossible for a giant manor to have zero perspective, but
unless you got
telephoto lenses for eyes, yeah. Sorry.
It totally worked. Like I didn't even, if I hadn't have really kind of analyzed it. So, and some interior shots where they're like standing at a bar and there's actually zero perspective on the actual bar part of it. So that's really interesting to me. I don't know if the perspective was always just kind of implied and I went from there. I don't know.
That's a bold move. I feel, especially in something like
Batman, where it's so familiar and established as to be like real life. Everybody knows what Batman looks like.
So to play with it like that and make those sorts of choices seems really bold.
Like, it always seems really, really weird when you see an alternate Batman comic. It's like, what?
Yeah.
He's a werewolf? What?
He's
a ninja in this one? What's going on?
Yeah. I actually didn't realize how much how much I liked his stuff back in the day.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people love him now because of Hellboy, but I'm like, actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, I'm kind of going the comics that I did like and then I did read. He actually had a pretty big hand in that.
Did he start in Batman?
Where did he get a?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I remember him doing Rocket Raccoon. That was one of the first times I recognized an artist's name. You know.
That's cool. Yeah.
He did I think it was like a 4 or 6 miniseries on Rocket Raccoon. But I remember the art really sticking out at me at the time.
That's cool. That's really neat. Yeah, I like it when I find an artist who they're well known for whatever huge work. Then you find these little things that they did, and they're really, really, really terrific. I was watching. I don't know. Yeah.
This is a little out there, but I was watching these,
Anime movies by a director named Rintaro last night.
and he's got these huge, long, like 2-hour epics that are very involved and all that stuff. But I think the favorite thing by him that I've ever seen is still like a 10-minute short that he did that I saw years ago. I ran across randomly. It's just, it's so good. Yeah, which is encouraging, I think, to know that you don't have to pour your whole life into something. You don't have to spend decades working on something for it to be good or genius. It can be just short.
There's no way I'm finishing this today.
Let me see.
Which is fine. I mean, but I'm kind of breaking my rule a little bit. I'm doing some of. What's that?
So it looks like you mostly were working on the helmet today.
Yeah, and I started doing texturing, which I try not to do until sort of my outlining is done, because I think, I don't know, it's just a thing that helps me break down the drawings. Is if I start with the outlining, then go into the blacks, and then do texturing at the end.
Yeah, it's like the treat. It's
exactly.
How can you have any pudding if you don't eat your meat?
Yeah.
I'm actually I'm doing the texturing right now, because I don't. I'm still adjusting. I was pretty shaky when we started out. That's weird, but I'm getting into a comfort zone. Yeah, I'm getting there slowly but surely. This is fun.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't even ink. I've penciled around other people before, but I really don't ink with other people around. So very interesting.
Pressure's on. Do we have anybody watching?
I don't think so.
I sent Jane the link. I don't know if she had tuned in at any point.
Yeah, I don't see it. It just says 2 people. I assume that's you and me.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, she's going to hear about it.
I don't know. I think the good thing about live streaming is somebody will get to it eventually.
Yeah.
And you can do a bunch of videos, really, and just kind of keep them coming.
Yeah.
And people eventually will make their way to them, hopefully.
Yeah, it's easy to generate content. Yeah, after setting up the OBS stream and seeing sort of what it could do, and then seeing, because I had it set up, I wasn't sure how this was going to work, so I had it ready to go on my channel, and I had like a nice thumbnail in there and stuff, and after seeing the thumbnail and how good and like real professional it looked, I was like, man, there's a lot I could do with this YouTube thing. Like, so I went ahead and I made a bunch of different thumbnails. It gave me, just working through this process yesterday, gave me a whole lot of ideas. So I'm really glad you invited me to join this, because it really got my brain going on this. I think there's a lot can be done.
Yeah,
I'd like to do.
I was just gonna say it just takes a little bit of setup, and then and then from there it's just kind of like rinse and repeat, which is nice.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. It doesn't seem too hard. Yeah, I would love to do like
Inspiration videos. I want to sort of pull up some things that have been inspiring to me and do little talks around them, books and things. And then but it just gave me so many thoughts of what could be done. Lots of time to spend doing things that aren't drawing. That's where this is kind of ideal.
Yeah. Yeah, something I was thinking about doing is taking old stuff that I like. So it can be anything, just like a panel from a comic book or something, like a John Buscema or something. Somebody or an Alex Raymond.
Yeah.
Somebody that is like a an idol or something, or Bernie Wrightson. And
yeah,
I don't know about redrawing it, but maybe like live redrawing it and trying to analyze it as I'm drawing it.
Yeah.
Kind of like do a masterwork, but live, and just as I'm doing it, what am I learning? Am I learning anything other than I suck and will never be Bernie Wrightson? I don't know, maybe.
Well, we have established once again that I am not Bernie Wrightson.
Yep, a week has gone by, still not Gene Colan.
Still not Bernie Wrightson.
Because it's kind of what I do in my free time too. Like you said about analyzing. I'm like, I'll pore over these Buscema drawings and I'm like, how is he implying so much accurately? That's the trick too. Is that. But.
Yeah, that would be fun to watch.
I think it could be, and it could be healthy too, because you're not like, all right, today I'm a genius and I'm gonna do my take on this Bernie Wrightson, and it's not. Yeah, it wouldn't be that at all. It'd be, it could be like self-effacing. But,
I think that would be really fun. I would watch that.
Yeah, the only quote-unquote masterwork I did in college was Goya Kronos eating his son.
Nice. I was wondering.
I mean, that was,
redo a masterwork? Well, obviously.
I mean, it was brutal.
That's tight.
It was absolutely brutal.
Brutal in what way? In the sense of the painting itself? Or?
In trying to replicate it, because I'll be honest, I think it would have been easier to replicate like a Rembrandt or something.
Yeah, wow, okay.
Because you can see what the colors are for Rembrandt. If you look at the Goya stuff, I swear to God, he is painting and taking a rag and wiping stuff off and painting it. Like I really think it was some sort of crazy technique. I could be wrong,
cool,
but that's.
Though. I bet you're right. I mean.
Yeah.
That's cool though to have that. It's almost like you interviewed him, or I don't know. In a way, it's a weird like connection with the artwork itself. That's really cool though. I love the expression on Kronos' face.
I know.
His eyes are so wide open. I want a T-shirt that's like, I can't start my day without my firstborn son, or something like that.
That's funny.
Don't talk to me until I've had it.
Wait, I think there is something that's like, don't talk to me until I've eaten my child.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Other than that, and the Naked Maja, I don't know any other works by him.
The Witch's Sabbath or something. That's a really good one.
Okay.
I think I could be wrong on that. It's been a long time since I've spent a lot of time with Goya.
Yeah.
I wasn't a huge fan. I mean, obviously, stuff is great, but it wasn't one of the main artists that I really looked to a lot. It was just, I don't know.
Who was your go-to?
I guess it depends what year in college we're talking about. auto dicks towards the end. So I love like German expressionism kind of stuff.
People, guys with chamber pots on their heads, and it's good stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, it just depended. It depended what year of college it was.
I remember I loved, I think all through high school, I just couldn't get enough of Dolly.
I think because I just wasn't aware of that many surrealists. I mean, he was the surrealist artist.
Yeah.
That I knew about. So I think it was sort of a default. Since then, I mean, there are definitely paintings of his that I really like, but I don't know. It's just not the same. Now that I've found people that are a little closer to what I really appreciate, like Remedios Barro, and that Beksinski guy. Even De Chirico, I really like some De Chirico paintings.
Yeah, I'm not familiar.
You've definitely seen him. He does like long shadows, scenes at dusk of like circus wagons, stuff like that. You've definitely seen him. Giorgio De Chirico.
So I've been doing this thing with my shadows, or whatever you want to call it. Yeah, I guess these are just gray value shadows that I keep doing. I don't know if it's good or bad. I just keep doing it. It's basically, so I'll like hatch some lines, and then I'll do this. I'll like close them off.
Let me see. Oh yeah.
That. And
I can kind of see that. It's pretty small, but
it's just kind of habit, and I just don't know if it's the right call. Like, I don't know if I should leave them open. I just keep doing it. It's just one of those.
You're closing them off, yeah.
It's like one of those little ticks that I do. I've been doing it for a while now, and nobody's told me to stop, so I just keep doing it.
Stop it. Don't ever do that again. Huh.
I don't know.
I
don't know.
I know what you're talking
about.
What
it is, or.
I don't think it's as long as it's not visually being mistaken for its own shape. I don't think it's hurting anything. I mean, it's all the character of the light too, right? If it's a very hard direct light, it makes sense to have that sort of contour around the edge of the shadow. But I would expect a softer, more diffused light to trail off at the end a little more, have more of a fall off, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a different kind of shadow, because like for like a form shadow, like I'm doing here, I'm not doing that because it wraps.
Right.
So maybe that's enough justification for me to keep doing it.
I like variation of shadow.
I think it makes it feel a little less like an engraving or like some scene that's been embossed. If that makes sense.
That's interesting.
I guess it thinks, it's a different character of light. I might just be talking out of my ass, but that's just the impression that it leaves me with.
Yeah, I think we do all of this stuff for a reason. Sometimes we don't know the reason, though. Or it might not be apparent to us.
Yeah.
This might be pedantic, but I think the best things we do are the things we do without knowing the reasons for.
Thank you, Gandalf.
You're welcome.
Very welcome.
But I mean, I don't consider it to be pedantic because I think we need to know that stuff.
Yeah.
Or at least try to know it. Like, art is not, building a car. It's its own thing, and unfortunately, it's even its own thing amongst different people. So
Yeah, it is.
like analyzing it nonstop, I do not think is a bad idea.
Yeah.
I almost dipped my brush into my coffee, which
Shaking up a
is
little bit.
it is just one of
What'd you say?
those. I said I almost dipped my brush into my coffee,
Oh, you're breaking up a lot. I'm losing you.
Really?
You're back now.
Okay. I'll try not to move.
Oh, is that what it was? Some sort of...
I don't know. Yeah, I was moving around.
That's weird.
Yeah, these are all the things that I'll have to figure out.
Yeah, it's I'm pretty happy with.
How this is going.
Doesn't seem to. It's not too much of a learning curve, at least for me. Pretty easy. Definitely looking forward to doing more of these solo as well. I might have to have like off to the side, but
What off to the side?
not like talking points or something, you know.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
But, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. I'm like, for solo stuff, it's just something you're gonna have to do to figure out. But I also think it's an opportunity for me to talk about Horace, and then for you to talk about your graphic novel or whatever you're working on at that time.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I think it's great. It's good to sort of build the skill of passively talking about work
Yeah.
To people, practicing that in a way that isn't frantic or fevered.
Yeah, and I think once people do start popping on and asking questions, I think it's just a great opportunity to learn more about your process, but again the character. Like I'm gonna maybe keep these as almost like ask me anything about Horace.
Yeah.
That way, why is he blah 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 blah? And I'm not saying I'm gonna answer everything, but
Yeah.
I will at least entertain.
I think that'll be I think that'll be neat. Yeah, I'll be excited to see. I mean, and I'm happy to continue joining. It's really fun. It's actually
sure.
it's weird. Yeah, it doesn't even feel like inking because it's fun.
Yeah, I think drawing is just a little more stressful.
Yeah, right. I don't think that's going to happen anytime soon.
Cool. Yeah, I definitely don't think I'm gonna. Maybe I'll just save this. So you're kind of saving this piece for streaming, right?
Yeah,
This
exactly.
is like the piece that you're. Okay, I might do that too.
Yep.
That's nice
Yeah.
too, because there's like a sense of continuity with people if they come back. They could sort of check in with the progress.
Yeah,
on
that's what I was.
given
That's what I was thinking.
Cool.
I actually have a couple.
Yeah.
The couple I'm going to be doing after this. So here's a little sneak peek. So these are.
Right.
So this is one.
Whoa.
Which again, these really let me kind of play around with new characters and like scenes that essentially I'll write stories around. And then I blew it up, and it just totally has a different quality, once you blow it up.
Yeah.
And then this one I didn't blow up, but I'm really excited to do this one.
Yeah, that is awesome. I love
And
that.
it's
Man, that is
perfect.
That's a grabber.
Go ahead.
That one grabs me.
Really?
That one makes me want to pick the book up off the shelf and find out what's
awesome.
going on, because I want to learn more about that scene, that world. That's really sweet.
That's cool. Yeah, for this one, and again, it's like I'm drawing it. I'm like, I'm doing this character, and I'm doing these pyramids, and all of a sudden, I'm like, the pyramids are belching smoke. So what's in the pyramid? It's one of those.
Yep.
So.
Yeah.
So these are all going to be done over stream.
Nice.
That's great. You got a backlog of things ready. I feel like I feel pretty lucky to be benefiting from the amount of thought that you've put into this. Even with OBS, I'm like,
Let's just use OBS. Okay, well, that's hours of tossing and turning.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky
Yeah.
that you're doing all this
Well,
creative legwork.
I mean,
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
because now I'm just gonna have some pieces penciled that I'm gonna work on inking. Oh, that's a good idea, Fabrizio. Yeah, that's pretty good.
I look at it as, I want to see these things too. So, as a consumer of podcasts where people are doing cool stuff.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to be a part of.
If I had known how many times I would be drawing books, and I still keep doing it to myself, you know that? It's like,
Yeah,
I just can't stop because that's his atmosphere. Like, that's, not that he will always be surrounded by books, but
Yeah.
often he
it's
will be
pretty
surrounded
funny
by
to me
books.
that you made a world that's literally made. Well, I don't know. Is this spoiling? I don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, maybe don't spoil it.
All right, never mind. Forget that.
That's okay.
Forget it.
It's all right. I mean,
But-
the book bug is out there, so he's
Okay, yeah.
been seen.
That was what I was going to say about the
Okay.
character who stitches books to his body is what I was going to say. Yeah, it's pretty
Gotcha.
cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, I just you want to draw things that you like or love, and for me, I've always loved books. And man, I guess am I tired of drawing them? No, but I just didn't realize what you had to do, like to convey a bunch of books. A lot of times you have to draw all the books. You can't.
Yeah.
There's no shorthand for books.
Yep. Yeah, unfortunately, yeah. Like a tree line, you can get away with defining one or two trees, and the rest is kind of an amorphous.
Exactly.
Mountains are easy. Yeah, you can get away with a lot with organic things, but when you have a bunch of man-made objects like that on a shelf, that's tough. Even crowds are easier than books. Drawing a crowd.
Yeah. Yep. Because you can be loose, like you said, in organic, circles for heads, and if a head's bigger than the other, it doesn't really make a difference.
Yeah, no shortcuts with books. You're giving yourself a challenge. I always liked it.
Drawing books because it's an opportunity. I mean, when you have hundreds of books, it's a little different, but it's an opportunity for Easter eggs,
Funny little titles, or even putting whatever you're reading at the time. I know I've done that a lot. Whatever book I'm reading at the time will go in there. Favorite books.
Yeah, I definitely try to put in Easter eggs for myself or other people in stuff like that. There's a certain amount of like fabrication that goes into it because you want to show things that don't actually exist, but mixing that in with things that are real, I think is really fun.
Yeah, and it gives people a reason to sort of slow down when they're reading.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I really try to add some value in everything, even the discount code for the store that I put, is actually going to be a clue, So I'm, for all the discounts, there'll be clues basically to, things in the world.
That's fun.
That's really cool. Where do you think that idea maybe came from, or is that just something new?
I don't know. I haven't seen that before. I have no idea if it exists. I try not to Google everything to see if it already exists, but it's just because I'm thinking about it.
right.
I'm thinking about it so much that I'm like,
right.
okay, how can I add it to this? How can I add it to that? How can I give the reader more information, more fun information, every step along the way.
And that's neat. I think
that's a shift that happens at some point for artists. Maybe for some artists. I know it definitely happened for me not that long ago, where it became less about me and more about like what is am I entertaining people? I think
Yeah.
I think working a job, sort of living a little bit, and realizing that life can be tough and frustrating. Um, yeah, just life stuff can be tough and frustrating, and it's nice seeing the value in art as entertainment. Really, I think changed that for me. Sort of changed my perspective. Where it's still nice to have like the broody art house sort of stuff where you're talking about death all the time and what's the meaning of life and all this and that.
Yeah.
But it's also really nice to be entertained, and it's a sort of generous thing to I think be willing to entertain people like that.
Yeah, I completely agree. The word entertainment kind of has suffered a little bit,
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah, it's true. Yeah, entertainment. We don't.
Art. Um, yeah, we don't think of entertainment, I don't think, as being high class, or I don't know what the word would be. It's not very.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it just doesn't have like the value, but that's why I think a comedy can be have just as much value as another movie.
Yep. Yeah,
It's
definitely.
different. It hits different things, but it doesn't mean it's not as impactful or can be impactful.
Yeah.
I guess is the
Most definitely. Something I've noticed this is a no complaining stream, right? No,
No, I
complaints.
mean-
Never mind.
less complaints than the rest of the web. That's all.
Less complaints. Fewer complaints. Forget about it. Oh yeah. I think there's
You don't go to a museum expecting to be entertained,
Yeah. True.
or even an art show. But that's always. I mean, I've had that happen though, and it's always a really pleasant surprise. When it does
Yeah.
happen. But it's entertainment that's happening. It's the exception.
Yeah. That's why I always talk about fun,
Yeah.
whether it's Horace or the stuff I like. I think that's a valid description, and I think it's worthwhile spending time on doing something that is fun. That doesn't mean I don't have stories in mind that are going to be depressing or
Right.
all of those other things, but there's nothing wrong with fun.
Absolutely not, and it can give it a lot of weight. I think, yeah, like that. I think the style is grimdark, is what the kids call it.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I don't know if that's
like I think that's an atmosphere. It's like sort of an atmospheric style thing. When something is grimdark, it's very I guess like Bloodborne or like Dark Souls.
Gotcha.
Those are grimdark, where everything is just kind of nasty and lousy and dirty and filthy, and there are no good characters. Nobody's doing anything noble, and I think that can be a lot. That can be a lot less, just because of contrast. It's like so dark. It's hard to see anything. Which is part of the purpose. The silhouettes of good and evil are kind of blurred, which is that's a choice. But then I think about stories that have happiness, moments of happiness in them, and it makes the bad stuff and the sad stuff so much heavier.
Yeah.
Yeah, it gives it so much more weight when there's
I think
some comic relief or some nice moments.
Yeah, I think that's why in a lot of storytelling, you know, people, they're almost afraid to have good characters.
Yeah,
Like
right.
it's,
Yeah, like
it's
that's
a
so
little,
lame or
it's
something.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, which
that it's so passe.
I feel like
Goodness.
that. Yeah, maybe.
Well, there's like you don't want to write like Little Lord Fauntleroy. Like
Right.
I grew up reading a lot of books sort of out of the Victorian era, and it was very much all of the protagonists were like that, where they were just perfect and they
Yeah.
were adept and capable. Even Coral Island, which Lord of the Flies was sort of a parody of. It's
Huh.
these kids that get washed up on this island. They're just perfect. They know how to build things. They're handy, and they never have any
Right.
interpersonal conflicts. And they're all like
That's funny.
selfless, just shining angels. And I think I don't know if it's like a holdout from that, this attitude of, well, I'm not going to have a good character, or my character's, I don't know, like the classic stock Red Dead Redemption. What's the
Yeah.
other game with the zombies where it's Joel?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about. I can't think of it.
Yeah, but he's just a cranky curmudgeon who's unhappy and
Yeah.
mean to everybody, and it's like, oh, lost you there for a little bit.
Oh, I wasn't talking.
Oh yeah, but your stream also went dead there for a second. You're
Oh,
back
really?
now though.
Yeah,
Interesting.
but just that. Yeah, I think that's a little tired. I would like to see that go away. The old guy, old mean guy.
Yeah, I think. I mean, in my story, I'm not going to make any bones about it. You know, Horace is a good character,
Yeah,
and there are going to be bad characters. I'm not saying everybody's going to be super black and white, but
right.
it's going to be. It's going to be, and I want to say, if I say more traditional, it depends what people are thinking of when I say that. So,
Yeah,
yeah, there's going to be good and evil. I'll put it that way.
I don't think
not.
it's- yeah.
I like Horace's character a lot. He seems like he's a friendly person to everybody around him, which is, I think, unique. And when you say it's traditional, I think to sort of narrow sampling, it could be seen as more traditional, but that's not taking into account a lot of negative characters. I mean, really, really bad characters that go as far as back as like Oedipus. We've always had like mean bad guy characters in
Right.
stories. So I don't know. But I like Horace's personality a lot. I think it's refreshing.
Thanks.
He's a refreshing character to read because he's just kind of, even though there's not great stuff going on around, he's like kind of keeping his chin up and keep moving
Yeah, I
forward.
mean, we can't help but sort of put ourselves into the story. I think there's always a detriment to doing that a little too much, for sure. Like,
Sure.
Right. Well, it depends how
but-
you're doing it too. Right? Yeah.
Umberto Eco. I can't think of the name of the book, but it's about this. I think it was a bookseller or something. He lost his memory, and he's going through all of these old books, kind of piecing things together. It's pretty fascinating. But there was this one quote, and I was going to take a picture of it, but I couldn't. I don't remember where it's at. But basically, he says one of the main, impetus is for artists is our kind of disdain and hatred for what's currently out there.
Could you repeat that? Because I think you're breaking up a little bit.
The one of the main reasons artists do things is out of sort of disdain for the current stuff. So
Yeah.
whatever's out there,
Yeah.
because
Yep.
you want to see something else.
Yeah. I think that's certainly true for me. I know I have friends though that would disagree. I think exactly vehemently, but I think that's, for me at least, that's definitely true. Would you, how much do you think you agree with that?
Yeah, 100%. I mean,
Yeah.
now that doesn't mean everything. Like there are good books out there, whatever. But it's just
Sure.
this doesn't exist, and you sort of have to bring it to life, you know.
Yeah.
Um,
I
or
think I
it doesn't.
see.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Sometimes it's things I want more of.
True.
Or I
Yes.
I'm pulling from some sources and I want to see things done a little differently. Like I want.
Yeah.
You're breaking up.
It's definitely, there's disdain. I kind of roll my eyes anytime I see it as anything branded as a dark fairy tale inspired by the Brothers Grimm. I'm like, I don't know how many Grimm fairy tales these guys actually read. But that's something they're
Right.
just kind of saying. But I feel like I still feel like nobody has done that right, at least the way I want to
Yeah.
do it. Especially that sort of that fairy tale thing. But yeah, I think seeing people not doing it the way I think it should be done definitely is the motivation. So when you see things like, I don't know, like whatever steampunk thing happens to be going on, or anything, any project inspired by Lovecraft, I think you're pulling a little more from pulp influences, right? Or just weird fiction in general.
Yeah, I think weird fiction in general. Like again, I really don't think anybody who reads Lovecraft is gonna kind of get the same stuff out of this.
No,
And,
it's not about the same thing.
yeah, like atmosphere and stuff like that. I mean, and even visually, it's very different. Now that doesn't mean, I mean, if somebody's looking for an H.P. Lovecraft clone, they're definitely not going to get that. But you know, they might find stuff similar that they like, maybe.
Yep.
But that's always up in the air.
Yeah. What do you think are the things? So what do you sort of if there's disdain? Not to turn this into the hate stream, but if there are things like you disdain that sort of have been motivating you to make this, what would those things be?
It's kind of what we were talking about. This idea of there's no good character, there's no heroes. Like that's not.
Mm-hmm.
This is not something that people write about very much anymore. Yeah. And even when they say they're doing it, and I look at this character, I'm like, well, okay, but the character did X, Y, and Z. They are villains, you know?
They're bad people,
so you can say that you're doing heroes, but you aren't. And I think that's where I think people's personal confusion about what is good and bad really comes into play. I'm like, okay, that's not a good person. Like if they do this or say this,
right? Like they did kill,
they killed that kid back there. Are we just kind of gonna overlook that, or?
Yeah, exactly. It's just these.
Yeah,
I think because
so much of it the plots have to revolve around killing things and people. I think often something I run into a lot is like, oh, they're a good character. Well, they just killed like 27 dudes back there. The dudes were all wearing helmets, so we don't feel bad. But they were people.
Right.
And there's this weird disconnect where they're always, all these action heroes are always trying to save like one person. They're trying to save like one 8-year-old girl, and along the way they just leave like. Such a body count, and I think that's sort of storytelling laziness. That's something again I like about Hoover. The conflicts aren't so far. The conflicts are not like just physical confrontations. He solves problems through research and looking into things and doing investigative work, and it's just cool. Which justifiable as like you said, a truly good character.
Yeah, I mean, he has more in common with like Sherlock Holmes than Lovecraft, you know. But it like the character is not Sherlock Holmes,
Right.
but
No.
he takes cases and he researches and he figures stuff out. That's kind of how what I'm
Yeah, it's sort of almost.
Harkens back to like not Detective Comics, but the actual detective pulp fiction.
Yes, right.
That's.
All right, so
Oh, nice. Yeah.
we're at an hour, a little over.
Yeah.
So
Well, dang.
I'm gonna,
So fun. Thanks for having me on.
sure. This is nice. Yeah, and I'm gonna. The goal is to do it maybe 2-3 times a week. I'm going away next week, so that's not going to happen. But when I get back,
Gotcha.
the goal is to do a regular stream and do all this, all these drawings that I'm showing live.
Nice. Is
Yeah.
that the con?
In
Yes, yeah.
New England? Awesome.
It's in Fitchburg, so it's Plastic City Con
Nice.
on the 16th of July. So I'll be heading up 13th, and I'll be there most of the day.
Very cool. Someday you're gonna be like, I'll have a table there.
Come see me. On here, I mean, on the stream. But
Yeah, I will be doing conventions eventually, and that'll be
Awesome.
really fun. So,
yeah.
but cool. Yeah, thanks for hanging out, and anybody that will watch this in the future, subscribe, notify, and Nate, if you what's your Instagram?
My Instagram is just Illustrator Nate.
Cool. All right, thanks everybody. Have a good one.
Yeah, thank you. Nice.